Hello and welcome to another episode of You Might Want to Sit Down for This Podcast. I'm your host, Kim Von Helvet, and we are at episode 19. This podcast comes to you from the traditional territory of the unceded Coast Salish territory of the Katzie, Kwantlen, Makwi, and Stolo people. Unceded land, meaning the land was never surrendered. And it's important to understand the long-standing history that has brought us together on this land where this podcast is coming to you from. I feel that is a relevant little way to start this today because my guest on episode 19 is Don Ron Wheelock, the Gringo Shaman of the Amazon. If you've been following along to these podcasts regularly, you might remember a little episode, it's probably about maybe 10 back or so, maybe even more, with Keith Douglas, formerly horn blower for the Mad Caddies, currently playing in a little band called King City, as well as Mariachi El Bronx. So in Keith's episode, we were talking about a trip he took to the Amazon to trip on a thing called Ayahuasca, to help him deal with his drinking, which it did. And the shaman that he worked with was none other than Don Ron Wheelock, my guest today. So kind of cool how that all came together. Ron's a great guy, man. I really enjoyed just chatting with him, and I think you're going to enjoy this episode. We touch on mental health, and we touch on a lot of different things because down in the Amazon on his retreat, he is helping people who are coming to visit, to go on ayahuasca trips and other such plant-based spiritual journeys to deal with, all kinds of illnesses and ailments and just things that are not necessarily working for them in their life or things they're trying to get a control of in their life. PTSD, drugs, alcoholism, depression, you name it, man. This guy does it all. Being a shaman pretty much means that he's like a medium between the real world or the whatever, if this is really is a real world, our world and the spirit world. So yeah, this is a cool episode and I'm stoked on it. And just pretty happy. I'll just say this. I upgraded Zoom, which is how I do these because of COVID and all that shit. But I upgraded Zoom automatically. It actually just updated itself right before I did the interview. And I sound kind of crackly in it. And I was just fucking pulling my hair out, trying to figure out, because I was trying to use my mic to record this intro here. And it sounded terrible. And I ended up just erasing and then re-downloading the app. Now it apparently sounds good. But yeah, I just sound a little tinny. Ron sounds fine, but I sound a little tinny. So just a heads up there. But looks like we're back to good sound again. Maybe the lovely Alexi can do something with it when I send her those sound files, which I was supposed to do today. But I will say it's been, you may have noticed that it's been 2 weeks since the last podcast. And you're probably noticing right now, if you're watching this, that I look really fucking tired, man. I'm burned out. I never realized that doing a weekly podcast would take up as much time as it did. And in the summer, fair enough, but we are going to be switching over to a bi-weekly every 2 weeks because school is back in and I got to get back to work and actually make some money so I can have a roof over my head to have this technology to host these shows and put this podcast out. So that and comedy and just life. I'm feeling a little worn thin. Had another celebration of life this week, and it's the second in about a month. Just there's been a lot going on. So hope that's cool when things are a little less, I would just say hectic, and I'm less burned out. I can get back to doing them maybe once a week for a while, but for now, we'll be every 2 weeks. And yeah. I do have some great episodes lined up, and we're starting right now with Ron. So just a shout out to comedy here. Often going to play a little bit of Mad Caddies music on this because of the Keith connection, and I have permission through Fat Records and the Mad Caddies to use their tunes. They also, I don't know, it's just a good fit because they're kind of chill. I feel like just playing some rowdy punk rock on here would not really maybe fit with the episode we got here coming up with Ron. He's a chill dude, you know? He's a fucking shaman. Like, isn't that sick? So yeah, shout out to Comedy Here Often, Fat Records, Mad Caddies, Ron, Keith, Mariachi El Bronx, all the listeners. Please like, follow, subscribe, do all that stuff. You know where to find this thing. You know how to share it. Tell your friends. Enjoy this episode with Don, Ron, Wheelock, the Gringo Shaman of the Amazon. Hello, Ron.
How you doing?
Yes, how are you? Is it Ron or Don, or is it both?
Ron.
Ron. I thought I seen on a website it was like Ron Don, and I'm like Ron Don Wheelock.
Don Ron.
Don Ron Wheelock. I got it backwards.
Many people ask me, what do you got to do to be a Don? Well, it's like saying Mr. Ron in Spanish.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Oh, that just worked out conveniently that Mr. in Spanish is Don and your name is Ron.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. One friend says, how'd your neighbor get to be a Don? He got old.
Well, that just makes me think of gangster movies and everything all different, like the Don, like the mafia. So it's just the Don is just Mr. That's just Mr.
Yeah.
Interesting. Where are you coming from?
Right now, I'm in a little village called San Antonio de Cumbasa. I'm about 20, 30 minutes above Tarapoto.
Which is, forgive me.
Yeah,
are you in what country?
In Peru. It's in the district San Martin. I live in Loreto. But
cool.
This is my vacation house.
Nice. So I've got you on your vacation. I appreciate your time.
Yeah, I kind of got here yesterday and forgot everything.
That's what you're supposed to do when you're on vacation, relaxing, I think, isn't it?
That's what I thought. I woke up this morning. There's a lady in the camp wanted to leave this morning. I'm like, shit, I forgot to send anybody out for her.
What's like, you got to send out rides or something, or transportation out?
Transportation now, because we're around 30 kilometers out from the center of town.
Okay. See, this is all very foreign to me. I'm in suburbia in Canada, which is kind of cool, because maybe just your other title is the Gringo Shaman. Is that correct?
Well known as the Gringo Shaman, yes.
Yes. Are you cool with that name, that title?
Yeah, I'm very happy with it.
Okay, perfect. Okay. But so you, I feel like, so yeah, this is a good time to tell. Let's just go to your story, because you used to live in suburbia, did you not?
I lived in small town Kansas.
So yeah, maybe not sprawling metropolitan, but probably a little bigger than where you are now.
A little bigger, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know, but Iquitos is big.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah, population-wise, it's big. Area-wise, it's not so big. But it's pretty common to be 4 generations under one roof.
Okay, cool. If you get along with your family, I guess. Actually, I think, I don't know. Yeah. I get along with my grandma pretty good. My sisters, hit and miss. Parents probably would drive me nuts, and I know I drive them nuts, so that could be interesting.
I don't like that lifestyle. I've lived by myself too much.
I've lived on my own for a long, long time, and I kick people out of it. One night on my couch is about as much as I'm tolerant of, and then it's like, get the hell out of here.
If I don't know you well, you're not very comfortable in my house.
So how did you? Let's get into this. How did you? What were you doing in Kansas before you moved down to Peru, or was Peru your first stop?
No, I was born and raised in Kansas, and years later I moved to the Ozarks of Missouri.
Okay.
And And there I was a machinist, I was a butcher, I did a lot of construction work, carpentry work, a little bit of everything. Then I moved to Missouri and opened a garage and started growing marijuana.
Hey-o. Which I believe is not legal in Missouri.
No, not yet, I don't think. But it don't matter.
But they should get their shit together, right?
Yeah. But yeah, I lived in Missouri for about, I don't know, 15, 16 years. And was always interested in shamanism, from reading Carlos Castaneda's books, The Teachings of Don Juan.
Yeah.
So
Mr. Juan. Now.
Yeah.
I know this.
Yeah, now you got him.
Learning already. We learn things on this podcast.
So I told all my friends, one day when my home's paid for and I don't have nobody to answer to, I thought I'd take off to the Rocky Mountains and start packing through the mountains on a couple of mules and hopefully run across a Native American medicine man.
Yeah.
And everybody's like, yeah, nice dream, Ron. Probably never happened. I'm like, well, yeah, thanks for all the moral support. A guy brought me a copy of this magazine, Shaman's Drum, one day. So he loaned it to me. And I seen all these ads to journeys to the Andes, the Amazon, and many different places. But a lot of them to the Amazon. And I thought, I never thought about leaving the U.S., but my home's paid for. I don't have to answer to anybody. Don't know anyone. Well, maybe I'd like to know the Amazon. So I inquired several places, and finally, in March of '96, I went with a group to the Amazon. So my first venture out of the U.S.
Yeah.
And it was probably the most perfect thing to this day that I've ever done in my life. Everything went just like clockwork. But so we went to Iquitos and then went upriver to another guy's camp, Don Augustine Rivas Vasquez, who is my first teacher. He just turned 97 the other day, still going strong. And so I really connected with him when I first met him, and made arrangements to go back in November of '96. And I stayed for 5 months and started my work. But I stayed for 5 months. I brought him a couple groups and decided I don't want to be a group leader. I want people to bring groups to me.
Yeah. So you were bringing groups to another shaman kind of thing. And then you're like, I want to be the shaman. I want to be the Dom.
That's me. Yeah.
Yeah.
Trying to adults is not easy. Much easier to herd children around. At least they'll have to listen to you.
Yeah.
But adults all have their own agenda.
This is true. Especially these days. Holy shit. Yeah. So because talking with Keith, who's our mutual friend, which I'm grateful that he made the connection that you're on here. He had said, from my memory, that it takes, I thought he said it was 10 years of practice. Is that correct?
Yeah, it was at least a couple years of doing dieting and we plant diets where we stay pretty much in the jungle, away from people. We ingest different plants, no sugar, no salt, no sex for extended periods of times, and drink ayahuasca twice a week while you're dieting.
Which one do you miss the most, of the sugar, salt, or getting laid?
All three. More than any of it.
I was thinking so too.
For sure. And that includes no masturbation.
Oh yeah, you gotta be wow.
No sex is no big thing, but shit, man, I can't even take care of myself.
You can't even rub one out. You're like a priest, but you don't have little boys to help you out. I got dark.
So So yeah, it was a couple years of that before I finally started practicing a little on my own. And then in 2000, I moved to Iquitos. And of course, a chain of events kind of helped push me there. It was the second time I'd got arrested for marijuana in the county where I lived.
That's back in America, or yeah?
In Southwest Missouri.
Yeah. Okay.
I grew up where Kansas, Missouri, Arkansas, and Oklahoma meet. They called it the 4-state region.
I've been down in that area. I've actually been in southern Illinois, not quite in the Ozarks, but I'd like to go. Like, flew into St. Louis, and then I was in like Waterloo County and Waterloo County. I don't know, but it was like Waterloo and Sparta and all these tiny little towns. So kind of in the area, not quite, but yeah, I should have went and checked out the Ozarks. I was near the Mississippi, that's for sure.
Oh, cool.
So somewhat familiar.
Yeah, the Ozarks is an interesting place. But yeah, they arrested me one time and I beat them.
Yeah.
And then time they made mistakes also, and I made an agreement to leave the county. So I put my place up for sale and moved to South America in 2000. And
so were you going back and forth before that, right? You were going to the Amazon, back to Missouri, back to the Amazon, back to Missouri.
Yeah, I was going back and forth for a few years, but yeah, now Peru's my home.
Yeah, and you're like, I'll leave the county. You're like, fuck that. I'm leaving the fucking continent, pretty much. I guess.
No doubt.
So yeah. I'm leaving the country. Yeah, amazing.
So yeah, I moved from the country to the jungle.
Yeah, I've been to Kansas too. Like, and I've been to places like Florida that are fairly tropical, and I can only imagine Peru is next level tropical jungle versus the flat farmland of Kansas.
Yeah, Kansas is nice. I mean, the wheat fields at a certain time of year are like big oceans of gold until they harvest them and then burn them off. Then it's ugly.
And beautiful skies and stuff out there. It's a different, I can appreciate beauty anywhere, but just saying the contrast of, like prairie farmland to the jungle must have been, that's a big change. It's a big change.
I like to tell people, the wind really blows hard in Kansas. It blew me plumb the other side of the equator.
Well, there you
go. Kansas is known for tornadoes. I mean, the story of the Wizard of Oz.
Yeah, that is set in Kansas.
It's definitely
I feel
Kansas.
I almost feel like there's some ayahuasca in the story of the Wizard of Oz too, because that was a little bit of a trip they were on outside of the trip, right?
There might have been some ayahuasca involved in that story too.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Okay. Yeah. So you're studying plants. So I guess you were growing weed before, so you already had an interest in some horticulture. So was that that helped out with your going down to the Amazon and getting involved in, I guess, plants down there?
Sure. I mean, probably the first thing in life I was really connected with plants, because my mother used to tell me, when I was about 3 or 4 years old, I put a little garden out in the backyard, and I can still remember climbing up on the shovel and rocking it back and forth and pulling the handle down to turn the soil. I don't know, it's maybe 3 or 4 square feet, but for a little boy, it was a big garden. And my mom gave me things out of the kitchen to plant, and up until she died, she's like, I never could believe you when you was just a little boy. You planted that garden. You'd come in the kitchen and pull on my skirt tail and like, Mom, come see my plants. I'm too busy. And I'd go out and dig every one of them up and bring them in one at a time and show them. Like, oh, that poor little plant's going to die. And never did one die. So
there you go.
I had a great connection with plants to start with.
That's like your calling from birth, it sounds like, pretty much.
Yeah. So now I can look back on my life, and almost everything I've done, I think, was preparation for this. Because from that, then I learned to be a mechanic on my own. We had an old car set out in the field, and I finally rolled it over on the side one day and got the motor out, took it apart, and then just understood it and started working on cars.
Yeah.
And from that, then I wound up being a butcher, slaughtering cattle and hogs for several years, which
Yeah.
my father and grandfather did that. I never thought I would. And then from that, I became a machinist in Wichita, Kansas, and made lots of aircraft parts. So now I can look back and like, the plants was the start. The mechanics, the human body is pretty immaculate machine.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it has the ability to repair itself. So understanding that, and then to be a butcher helped me to understand the anatomy of the body better.
Yeah.
And then to become a machinist took my mechanical knowledge another step further. So it's all like preparation for this work.
These are all parts that came together to lead you to where you are, which is you got a big smile on your face from the moment your camera turned on. So it looks like you're a happy man where you're at, what you're doing with your life.
I'm pretty happy. Yeah.
Cool.
I have a cousin who recently wrote me. He's thinking about coming seeing me. He's never been interested in that.
For a visit or for a trip visit? What do you call it anyway? What do you call an ayahuasca treatment, or?
We call them retreats.
Retreat. Okay.
But I prefer to call them workshops because for me, it's not a retreat.
You're on a retreat right now, chilling.
I think Keith would agree with that. They're not retreats.
Yeah, I talked to Keith a lot about it, yes, and other friends too, that there's a lot of work that goes into it, right?
Oh, wow. Yeah, because even Keith's like, I hope ayahuasca don't ever call me back again.
I'm so intrigued.
But my cousin has kind of reached a crossroad in his life. He's going through a divorce. He's 56 years old. He don't want the divorce. So he's like,
yeah,
maybe ayahuasca can help me. So I've been communicating with him, and sounds like he might be paying me a visit.
That's good. I was actually thinking, I spent the weekend with very close, I had somebody very close in my family who's going through some relationship issues, has had depression for about the last 6 months, just can't get out of that like dark. We had a big chat the other night, and he's just like, I can't get out of it. No matter what I do, I can't get out of it. And then he's also like using booze and using drugs and not like cocaine and shit like that. That it's just a bunch of spiraling choices that are just piling on top of each other and just making matters worse, right? And I was like, holy fuck, I'm talking to you today. Like, fuck this guy. Maybe I should send him your way too. You know, like I'm gonna definitely get him to listen to this.
Yeah, I mean, I can't even imagine what my life would be like now if I'd never found ayahuasca, or better say how ayahuasca found me.
Yeah. So explain that, please. How did that? Because everyone says that ayahuasca finds you. Please just explain because I know a bit. Okay. You know, some of my listeners would have heard Keith's, but maybe they haven't. I don't know. Someone could be tuning in for the first time. But explain ayahuasca and kind of what you're doing, please.
Yeah, it was several years I'd been working with ayahuasca, and I had a really powerful experience one night. And ayahuasca explained to me that I could have not shown up, and that would have had consequences too. But it really wasn't me who decided to go. She brought me there. And many people in time have that realization. A lot of people think they want to come, and things just don't go right, and it's really not their time. When it's their time, they show up. So for an example, I went to California one time, and they had like 10, 15 people were going to drink with me. I got there 2 or 3 days beforehand, wound up only being 4 or 5 people show up. 2 or 3 people call one day, well, this is going on in my life. I don't feel good, this and that. I'm not going to be able to make it. And they told me, Ron, we're really sorry you came all this far for no people. I said, that's all right. That's ayahuasca working also. It's not their time to show up. So it's you know, in this world, everything's energy and everything's connected. So a lot of times we don't understand these things, but there's there's a bigger picture at work than we can even imagine and realize.
Yeah, and almost when you're speaking of ayahuasca, it's almost like you're speaking of her like as almost like a god or an entity that she's calling you.
For sure. I mean,
Yeah.
we consider her the mother of all plants.
Okay.
So, and through her, people in the Amazon have learned how to use the other plants for healing purposes.
And do you need to like mix ayahuasca with the plants, or she kind of like tells you which plants you need, or how does, because I think it
comes to you in dreams or when you drink ayahuasca. I've had 2 or 3 times, just I'll be traveling down the road or whatever, and a certain plant always sticks out to me. And then later I drink ayahuasca and the plant visits me and tells me I need to diet it, and tells me how to use it and what to use it for. So I think this is how the indigenous people have learned through all these years how to work with all these plants.
And what are some of the uses for these plants? Is like medicinal, I'm assuming, but is everything pretty much?
We pretty much, they say in Amazon, there's a plant to cure every disease known to man.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, a lot of people come for cancer, diabetes, many, many things, arthritis, rheumatisms, the list is long.
How about COVID? Have people been coming down for COVID, or with COVID? Or maybe they probably can't travel if they have it, then maybe if they're local or preventatory.
Most of the people were around my region during the COVID epidemic. They cooked, they cut lemons, didn't smash them or anything, just cut them up, put them, the peel and everything in the water, garlic, eucalyptus, ginger, onions, and they boiled that and drank it every day hot. And even my teacher, Augustine, still drinks it and calls it his anti-COVID.
That's interesting, because I got to say, all of those things besides the eucalyptus, which I could get a hold of, ginger, garlic. What was it? Ginger, garlic, onion. I cook with those. Cook with those every day.
Sure.
Yeah.
And it really helps with your defense against the COVID.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Good to know. And it tastes good too.
Yeah, it's pretty tasty. Put a little honey in there. It's it's nice.
It feels good. I know that.
Yeah, the COVID's pretty much, we don't hear much about it here now.
That's good. I'm happy to hear that, because it's North America is definitely a different story right now.
Yeah. So from what I hear from the internet, so
yeah,
I'll be glad when it's all over.
Yeah, I will too. I think everybody will. Maybe besides the big pharma companies, that make a lot of money. But you're the alternative to big pharma, which I think is awesome, beautiful, great.
Yeah, I mean, the Amazon is probably the largest medicine cabinet you could have in the world.
That's pretty cool. An interesting way to think of it. And this dates back thousands of years, I'm sure too, right?
Sure. I mean, I think they have a recorded history of people working with ayahuasca approximately around 3,000 years.
Wow.
So there's a lot of mythology around ayahuasca, but I have a theory also. There's a tribe of indigenous people in Colombia called the Kogis. They have very little spoken language. They communicate great distances telepathically, and pretty much know everything that's going on in the world without paying any attention to the news. But and
lucky. I wish we all had that fucking skill.
Yeah. And I've read stories about other tribes that used to communicate telepathically. So my theory is that if humans were able to communicate telepathically at one time, they probably also communicated with animals in the plant kingdom telepathically. So probably dreams or whatever, ayahuasca visited them and told them to cook these two plants together so they could visit the other side and could teach them how to live in the jungle.
Yeah.
So that's my theory.
I like it. It sounds like you're of the belief that plants, animals, humans, which do you fit humans into the same category as animal, or but we're some worse than animals, some better, or we're all connected.
Yeah.
Everything is, the universe is the universe, or the world is all connected.
I believe that very strongly, that everything's connected. And
I like
man has
that.
tried to disconnect from everything for God knows how long.
Has tried to
And-
disconnect.
In my opinion.
No, I think you are right. Yeah. Even,
So,
or I don't know if they're
one
trying,
thing
but we're fucking
possible-
doing it.
If there's one thing impossible in life, is we can't disconnect from everything, because we're connected, and we should
Yeah.
connect more.
Yeah. I think that's
So-
cool. I've done a lot of work and some studies with indigenous cultures from basically like Canada, I guess, which Western Canada, the area where I live, and probably the rest of Canada. When I did the schooling, I'd imagine it was, but there's all different sort of beliefs in that. And even had an indigenous guest from Western Canada on here. But I've always respected that that take on life, that everything's connected and you appreciate nature, and I don't, that's always been something very beautiful to me. And I think that makes more sense than some of the other, whatever religions might be out there. They seem more pure and more, no hidden agenda or anything like that. No trickery kind of thing. But it sounds like it's very similar to the indigenous
Very.
cultures and beliefs down there, right?
Very much, yeah. And I also, for a couple of years, worked with smokable DMT, which is pretty incredible. It's like being shot out of a cannon.
Well, I'll just tell you, I have smoked DMT on one occasion, 3 different times, and holy fuck, yeah, that is gnarly.
Better grab your ass.
My ass is in a wheelchair. I felt like I was going to get out of it, fucking walk. That's how high I was.
I'll bet.
I just run away from how high I was. That. I never went back. I did the 3 and I was like, I don't think this is for me. But I'm no regrets that I tried it just to see it and do it.
For sure. So, but where I live also, there's a piece of land behind me, belongs to the Seventh-day Adventists, and they have a youth camp. So when they first came, they was like, the rumor in the village was, we're going to convert to Gringo.
Oh,
like, good luck. Because
yeah.
I think in the church, because there's so much elements of witchcraft associated with ayahuasca, they like to connect this with Satan or the devil.
Yeah.
So I don't mind talking to them, and I find their conversation interesting.
We're devil-friendly podcast, Ron.
For sure. So one day when I smoked DMT, I smoked 3 big pipes, and on the 3rd pipe, not psychedelic, but everything I looked at was God.
Wow.
I mean, a wrecked truck in front of me, that was God. Shit on the ground, that was God. The air I was breathing, like, fuck, everything is God.
Yeah.
And my friends were like, wow, Ron, what a revelation. So the preacher and a brother came one day, and they're talking to me, and I said, look, you think because I work with ayahuasca that I work with the devil.
Yeah.
But I said, let me tell you something. Without reading the Bible, and I have read a lot of the Bible, but it's a hard book to get through. Some parts are very boring. But I said, look, I know without reading the Bible that Satan didn't put anything of material value on this earth. So everything on this earth, God put here, and it's for our use. And there's good and bad, everything. I can follow you around all day. I can learn good things or bad things from you. It depends on what I want to learn. So they didn't have much answer about that. So I said, so tell me, who or what is God? And they looked at each other for, I don't know, about 5 minutes and no answer. And I says, you know, I can tell you what is God. God is everything. It's you, it's me, it's the earth I walk on, it's the food I eat, it's the air I breathe, it's the water I drink, it's everything. They had no answers for me. They never come back and bothered me again.
Good. I love it. This is great. I'm so stoked you're on here right now. I love all of this stuff. This is awesome.
I mean, how could he not be anything else?
Yeah.
I mean, if I was God, I'd want to be everything.
For sure. Maybe not dog shit though.
Nah, the way the dogs are here, I was like, God, if I have to come back there, I said, dog, please don't get me back to Peru.
I watched my buddy Dave, who used to be in a wicked punk rock band called Cop Stabber Dave. Smoked DM. Yeah, they're aggressive. He grew up. I'm getting him on here at some point, but he went to all like religious school growing up, and then just became like very anti. So I want to get that story, but I watched him smoke DMT in Vegas and say that the lamp was the universe and the lamp was his cock, and I was like, this shit looks gnarly. I don't know what the fuck he's talking about right now, but he seems to be he's convinced. He's having a time.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible stuff. But it's basically the same thing that I work with in ayahuasca.
I was just going to say that it's just like what, a couple chemicals off kind of thing, or?
Well, ayahuasca is a vine that grows in the Amazon.
Yeah.
They tell there's like 21 varieties. But the scientific, the botanical name is Banistropius caapi. It don't distinguish between varieties.
Okay.
One for everything. But there's a big difference in the varieties. But then ayahuasca contains an MAOI. And then we add different admixture plants. Mainly, I use a plant I know as Wambisa. It's known as Charlipanga, which contains lots of DMT. A lot of people use another plant called Chakruna. So with the MAOI in the ayahuasca, it puts the MAOs out of commission in our stomach. So then the DMT can enter into our bloodstream through the liver and produce a psychedelic or a visionary experience. So, but
this is interesting stuff.
It's much more, I think ayahuasca is much more in depth than smoking DMT. Because after a while, I give it up.
Well, and DMT's like, it comes and goes so fast from my experience and what I've heard, that it sounds like ayahuasca sticks around longer. You have more time to kind of experience and work with it. No?
Yeah. A normal ceremony is like 3-4 hours. But sometimes after the ceremony, you go to bed and it can go on the rest of the night.
Yeah.
But, smoking DMT is usually normally 20-30 minutes maximum.
Okay.
But and we're all in possession of DMT in our pineal gland and in the fluid in our brains and our spinal cord.
And it's in everything else too, isn't it? It's in every living creature,
pretty
being.
much almost everything.
Yeah.
I mean, Rick Strassman in his book DMT, the Spirit Molecule, writes it would be easier to look for where it's not than for where it is.
Okay. Yeah, it's interesting.
So it's almost in everything in nature.
So just tapping into like, and where you are, sounds like this is just what people believe, and they've believed for a long time. But up where I'm at, it's just sort of this kind of, a lot of people don't know about it. It's been pushed aside or kept away, or I don't know if that's from stripping indigenous cultures of their culture, of their ways, and and then probably was it Western or whatever you want to call it, with religion, thinking that it's witchery or fucking devil.
Who is the devil?
Do you know what I think is the devil is charging, having private healthcare where some asshole can buy the pill that is the, helps HIV and AIDS and fucking sell it for, mark it up by 500%. That
For
seems
sure.
more the devil. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or were people who have to remortgage their house because they can't afford for the, the medication that is made by the government or government agencies or government related. Like that seems more evil than taking a plant that opened your mind to, sounds like the universe, to God.
Sure. I mean,
Yeah.
growing up as a child, I always, we went to a Baptist church, and growing up as a child, I always felt like these visionary plants that grow on the earth, that the church kind of viewed them like, this is something Satan put here to make people crazy.
Is this like mushrooms and stuff like that?
Mushrooms, peyote, San Pedro, and there's a lot of them that are, I mean, like the daturs that people don't even hardly ever use, but they're extremely powerful visionary plants.
Yeah.
But yeah, to Christianity, it's like these was put here to make people crazy. But somewhere inside of me, it's like I always had this knowing that said, no, these was put here for a reason. And there's no continent on the face of this earth that's void of visionary plants. So all my life, I've like, so why are these all over the world?
Yeah.
So in my opinion, they was put here for us to use, for us to learn how to live on this, how we're supposed to live on this earth.
Yes.
So.
And you felt that. And here's a question. Would you say, so you were saying, I can't remember if you said this, but the Amazon and South America, would you say that is where, would you say they have the most visionary plant, or just the most, I would imagine the jungle probably is the most plant species of anywhere else in the world.
Yeah, I say so. I mean, the Amazon jungle is probably one of the most diverse places on the face of the earth. For there's plants there we haven't even discovered yet.
Yeah.
So,
What's your take on, I mean, now with, I just see things in the news about it being chopped down at alarming rate and burned for cattle and soy, and it sounds like we're in trouble. Do you see that firsthand where you're at, or?
Not so much where I live.
Yeah.
I think probably more so in Brazil.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of deforestation here. The big hardwood trees and the old growth, a lot of it is gone.
Yeah.
But the jungle is such a fast growing place. I mean, the typical farming in the jungle is slash and burn. People go in and they'll clear 5-10 acres, and they cut everything down and burn it, and they'll grow certain crops there for, I don't know, 5-6 years till they don't produce, and then some other crops in. And when they abandon them, in 6 months' time, it's grown back up, and you can't even hardly tell anybody was ever there.
Oh, wow. So I never knew that.
Yeah, because a lot of the trees are really fast growing, but it's the hardwoods and the old growth that takes a long time.
Of course, because it takes thousands of years, really, does it not?
Sure.
Yeah. What else was I going to ask you? Hold on a sec. Is there, I think I've probably already like sort of touched this, but I was going to see, like, is there like a herb? Is there a plant? Is there something that you would say like you or people in general should just take every day for their health, for their well-being? Like one staple?
In the jungle, a lot of the medicine there is prevention. They know when you get 40, 50 years old, you're going to start having aches and pains and different things. So a lot of people drink, they have different barks. They soak in alcohol.
Yeah.
And they start drinking those mornings and evenings. In fact, I drink several different barks mixed together about every day. But so much of the medicine here is about prevention.
Which is good. It should be. I would rather prevent than deal with it once you're screwed.
Yeah, much better.
Yeah.
In my opinion, much better. So
Even it should be.
Everything, a lot of the things ayahuasca shows you is to prevent them from happening.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. I think you're better off not having something or dealing with it than trying to sort it out once you have it.
For sure.
Which again is also kind of the opposite of here, where I don't even know. There's some pretty unhealthy living. There's fucking McDonald's and Wendy's and all that shit on every corner that's not putting any nutrients in your body. It's cheaper to buy unhealthy food than it is to go buy healthy food.
For sure.
That's right. Diet is huge prevention. Your diet's everything, is it not? Like diet and exercise?
For sure. I mean,
yeah,
it's very important, our diet.
Yeah.
When I stayed for 5 months in the jungle doing plant diets, when I came home, my cupboards were bare. So I went to Walmart Supercenter. I pushed the cart through the whole store and looked in my cart, and I had nothing in my cart.
Yeah.
Nothing is fit to eat in the store.
Yeah.
And many of my friends is like, I bet when you go to Peru, you have a lot of hard time adjusting to the diet there, the food there. And I'm like, no, it's when I come home. I can't find nothing to eat. Too much. It's all shit. Yes.
Yeah. What I'm interested in with going back to the bark, what's the significance of bark? That because I mean, if you think about it, like the last thing you would think anybody would be eating or ingesting if you were lost in the woods, I'd probably be looking for berries or eating leaves or roots. I don't think I'd be trying to have a fucking bark steak, but I'm interested in what's in there. Because I might be, sounds like I'm fucking confused. I don't know what's up.
Yeah, we don't actually eat the bark, but we soak it in alcohol.
Yeah.
Or we cook and then drink the water off of it, the liquid.
You take the nutrients out of it, correct? Or the antioxidants or?
Yeah, the alkaloids.
Alkaloids. Okay.
So.
Do you have a book? Have you written a book?
No, but my name's been in several books. I never did really like writing. I spent 7 months in prison over marijuana when I was about 39, 40. And I wrote so many letters, I don't ever want to write again.
Yeah, I could see writing letters from prison could definitely turn you off writing.
Oh, man. And it was like, it'd been nice to have a printing machine you could just run copies off, because it was same shit, different day.
Yeah, different name, different address.
So probably somebody will write a book about me one day.
Yeah, I can connect you with an author if you ever want to do that, because you're a wealth of knowledge and experience, and your energy is contagious. And you're doing beautiful things.
So but like my cousin wrote the other day, when you have a job that you love, then you don't have to work.
I agree. So, I've been doing that for about 18 years.
Yeah, I mean, all my years I've lived here 21 years, and I feel like I'm not really working. I'm just, I'm doing what I love.
And in the process of that, you're helping people too, which is the ultimate best feeling I think we can have as people, is to give and help and, improve others' lives. Or, I mean, really, you're changing people's lives through ayahuasca. You're helping them along. They're coming at you in need of help, or they're not in a good place, and you're hopefully giving them the tools to get to a better place, right?
For sure. I mean, Keith.
Hey, you froze for that whole thing. Sorry. I just got Keith.
Yeah. I said Keith is a good example of that.
He is. He's someone who I know who's come and seen you, and he's one of my best buds. He's an absolute beauty. You know what I'm curious too is
before ayahuasca, he was really drinking quite excessively.
He doesn't drink anymore.
Yeah, he don't drink anymore.
No, I know. He's awesome. He's a great designated driver. He'll probably watch this. Hey, Keith, yeah, fuck. Love you, buddy.
Yeah,
Yeah,
both of us.
yeah.
Great person.
What? Yeah, he's an awesome dude. What? How about this? So, I mean, is there a typical, you talk about workshops. Is there sort of a set thing that you do as the shaman that from start to finish during the workshop? What is it? What is your role? What are you doing?
Yeah, it's pretty much a routine with the workshop. I mean, when we started, we did like 12 days, but most people prefer 7 days. They tell me it's easier for them to get away for 7 days than it is 12.
Fair enough.
And yeah, so we crowd quite a bit into 7 days. I try to get people in on the camp on like a Sunday afternoon, get them settled in. Then Monday morning early, there's a resin from a tree, a big tree. They tap it, and it's this white latex resin. The tree's called Hay. So you drink a pretty good glass of this first thing in the morning, and it's a half a day of shitting and puking. You wait 30 minutes, and then you start drinking a liter of warm water every 30 minutes till you've drank 7 liters of warm water. Of course, this is going through you both ends.
Yeah, warm water. Yeah.
Yeah. So we start people out with that.
Yeah. So that sounds like a bit of a cleanse.
Yeah, so they can receive the medicine better.
Yeah, get the shit out of their body.
That's it. Get the shit out.
Yeah, so, the shit from Walmart back home. Get that shit out. You're putting some good shit in now.
From jobs, from Walmarts, from you name it, McDonald's. Yeah. So then we start on Tuesday night with our first ceremony. So we do 3 ceremonies in 7 days: Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. They do a herbal bath in the mornings afterwards. That's to extract negative energy from the body and to wash that away. We have meetings after every session and share our experiences. And we usually cook a pot of ayahuasca for a demonstration and to test people's energies.
Yeah.
So, and then there's other things we offer. Some people want to try San Pedro, which is similar to peyote. I personally don't work with it. I've taken it several times, and only twice have I ever really had an experience with it. But I don't feel drawn to work with all these other plants anymore.
Okay.
And then also there's a frog they catch, and they get this secretion off of its back, and you burn your arm and peel that off, and then you apply a little spot of this secretion off this frog that's been dried on a stick. You mix it with water, and then you apply that, and it's pretty much an hour of hell.
Oh, wow.
It cleanses your liver,
yeah,
and boosts your immune system, but it's very unpleasant.
So is it like, are you tripping out, or you're just feeling really sick?
No, you really feel like you've been poisoned.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So there's no visions, nothing with it. It's just, you just feel like shit.
Okay.
But afterwards you feel much better.
I hope so. Because people must be like, if I went down there, like, we're just going to take this frog and put this shit, we're going to burn you, I'd be like, what the fuck is going on? And then you start feeling sick and you're like, what did I get myself into?
Yeah, that's kind of how you feel like. And I've done it several times, and every time I do it, I'm like, the fuck am I doing this again for?
That's what I felt like when I did DMT the second and third time.
Yeah.
Why am I still doing this? Yeah. Okay. So that's another kind of cleansing thing.
So, and many things in the jungle are purgatives. I mean, when I first came here, people would walk me through the jungle and they're like, this plant heals this, and that. It's a purgative. This plant here heals. It's a purgative. I'm like, So you're telling me everything in this jungle makes you shit and puke. So this must be like purgatory. I can come here and clean up and move on.
A lot of overweight people there. Everyone's skinny if they're shitting and puking all the time.
Well, when I came, there was very few overweight people, but there's plenty of them now.
Yeah.
But so when I finally bought our camp, the guy we bought the land from said, "What are you going to call your camp?" And I said, "I've always thought I had a camp here." Uh-oh.
It's all good. I can still hear you. There you go.
Okay, my phone died. But anyway, I said, "I think I'll name it Purgatory." He said, "No, don't call it Purgatory.
Sounds a little negative.
Call it El Purguero." And I said, "I like that because when I came here, the Ayahuasqueros were referred to as Purgueros, which means somebody who works with purgatives."
Yeah.
And Ayahuasca was called La Purga.
Yeah.
So the name stuck, and I'm happy with the name.
So it is called Purgatory.
Pretty much, El Purguero.
El Purguero. Cool. Fuck yeah. So that's good because it makes sense. You're purging toxins and demons and all negative feelings and a lot of stuff, right?
Everything.
And that's pretty much what it is. Would you say if you were gonna sum up ayahuasca retreat, if you could, in one thing, would you say it's like a cleanse, or it's a?
Yeah, pretty much, yeah. And that's what's really helped build my work. For years, nobody wanted to come and drink with me here in Peru because I'm a gringo from the U.S.
Yeah, I was wondering if there was any pushback from the indigenous people there.
So, forgive me for being a gringo from the U.S., but my work is Peru.
Yes.
But I had many people come and they'd been and drank 5, 10, 15, 20 times at other places. And they've told me, "I've done a lot of purging, but I haven't seen anything. I've had no visions yet, and I want to see something." They tell me, "You have good medicine." So they come in with me and they have visions.
Yeah.
And I had some people from Ireland come one time and they said, "Look, I've been drinking ayahuasca for 7 years. I felt like I was just introduced to it tonight."
Wow.
So my medicine also has helped gain a lot of respect and popularity with me.
And that obviously dates back to your childhood of caring for plants, because you're preparing it. Am I right?
Sure.
You're preparing it. Yeah. So this is all. Yeah. You bind it, you prepare it, you put it together.
That's me.
That's so cool. You're doing it all. Well, you're doing amazing stuff down there. How do people find you if they want to look you up and learn more?
Pretty easy to find on the internet. And most of my work has grown from word of mouth.
Yeah, which is how I know you right now. And everybody who hears this is going to know you. But say for listeners right now, if they want to look you up, is there a website or something?
If they just look for the Gringo Shaman, they'll find me.
Okay, go Google Gringo Shaman, because if you have a calling, if you have a dream, if you hear this podcast and start thinking about plants in the Amazon, if you're in a dark place, if you're struggling with addiction, if something's just missing in your life and you want to find it, or whatever it is, sounds like anything.
Anything.
This is your man.
Google me, Gringo Shaman.
Gringo Shaman. Mr. Ron, Don Ron.
No, I'm there.
Yeah, man. Hey, well, Ron, I'm going to thank you so much for coming on the podcast and giving me an hour. I'm not going to take your time because I know you're on vacation and you're trying to relax. You deserve it, it sounds like.
I'm enjoying it.
I'm happy to hear that, and I hope you had a good time this last hour chatting. I really, really appreciate your time and your wisdom and everything you just shared.
Well, I've enjoyed it, and I put a thanks out to Keith for putting us in touch.
Yes.
And look forward to hearing more from you.
We'll definitely keep in touch. And I'm not sure what the wheelchair accessibility is like there, because I am paralyzed, but maybe that'd be something to check out as a paraplegic too. Who knows?
I have a good friend in Joplin, Missouri, who's paraplegic, and he
Yeah.
drank with me many times. But the
Yeah.
last couple of times, he got to flailing around thinking he could walk.
Okay.
But this is something, after 2 or 3 times of drinking with me,
Yeah.
he was hit by a train in England. He was on LSD and took off running down a track and ran straight on into a train.
That's how he got paralyzed.
And that's how he got paralyzed.
Wow.
But after he drank, he said, Ron, since my accident, I've never had an erection. I've drank
Yeah.
ayahuasca times. I had an erection the other day.
Fucking rights. I get
Right.
boners, but I'm always happy to get better, bigger fucking boners.
I hear you. So I drink a lot of ayahuasca for that.
Hell yeah, Ron gives boners. Fucking, if you want a boner, you need a boner, go to the Amazon.
Right on.
Okay, man. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much. We'll be in touch, man.
My pleasure, Kevin.
Take care. I'll talk to you soon.
Okay. Much love.
See you later. Much love to you. Thank you.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Gracias.
I feel the heat of fire that burns deep in my soul as this hell ride returns. No one around to hear me cry out. Open my mouth, but I can't make a sound. I feel the weight of the world sometimes hanging on my head. Ooh, look for the light at the end of this tunnel once again. I'm talking about the right state of, the right state of, the right state of your mind. Talking about the right state of, the right state of, the right state of your mind. Fear for the worst, I can't catch my breath. My heart beats to the sound of unrest.